It's August 8th, 2020. It's hot. It's really hot today. You can tell from the grass. It's not very green. And this is my yard. It's been 5 years. I've been working on it. We've got hundreds of plants. This is a butterfly and hummingbird garden. It's almost completely xeriscaped. My goal was to put in, obviously, butterfly and hummingbird plants. And then in the front here, I wanted this whole area to be wildflowers. So that's what happens. This little swale right here is completely full of wildflowers for about 3 months in the spring. And I've got several beds up here, and I think we should get started with that one over there. So here's the front garden, right as you drive in. Mexican mint marigold. It's a fall bloomer, and this is a first year plant, actually. These are first years. They're taken from cuttings. So they're not really full, but this is full sun here. This stuff gets no shade, sun up to sundown, and no water. This is Mexican oregano. And you can see it's growing under there a little bit. This, I think next year, I'll trim the Pride of Barbados a little bit to give it more room. I was hoping the Mexican oregano would kind of flow over into the street, but it is not. It is spreading like that. And everyone's favorite Pride of Barbados, you can see that right there. These are second year Pride of Barbados, so they'll get 3 times, well, maybe twice this big. They'll end up getting quite a bit taller and quite a bit wider. And this is more fall garden. This is Mexican bush sage. The Mexican bush sage will come out once, maybe twice a year. And if you look up, I've got a path here. If you look up that path right there, that's all Mexican bush sage. And so when these bloom together, it will just be just huge, big purple and white blooms. This is Esperanza. Pretty disappointed with the Esperanza. I say I don't water anything, but I water stuff the first year. 4 of these are first year plants, 3 of these are not, and I only have 1 in bloom. Oh, I see 2 blooms. Okay, so I've got 2 that are blooming. That's it. And the ones that are blooming are not established ones, so it's kind of frustrating there. But it'll come along, I'm sure. This is one of my favorite beds. One of my favorite plants is Texas sage or cenizo. And these are 2 different kinds of Texas sage here. You see one in full bloom there. Also see the Mexican willow there. So these Texas sages I took from layering, and basically I just put a pot attached to the mother plant and put an arm in the pot and let it grow. So you can see I've got 4 here. These 4 are called Silverado. They're my favorite Texas sage. This one is an Eldorado. And it's much more mature. You can see it's put on a lot more blooms. Although these little ones, they got some blooms too. This is their first year, keep in mind. Man, this guy's really come to play. So this is also a cool plant. It's called rain plant because it will predict the rain. About 10 days, maybe 11 days before a big rain, it will look like this. And oddly enough, it's right. I have been paying attention to that statement for years, and it's almost always right. Not sure if you can hear all the activity. There's a lot of bees in there right now. It looks pretty cool. All right, over here, this is a canyon sage. This is Salvia microphala, or sorry, it's a mountain sage technically, but it is a canyon plant. Canyon plant here. More mountain sage. More mountain sage. And this is a mountain laurel. This mountain laurel was just put here strategically to block a sight line. So it kind of fits. And I have this set up so that as cars come into park, there's gaps. A car would park right there. And then right here, obviously, you wouldn't be able to get out. Over here, car would park. You can get out there. You can get out there. There's a party here one day. I came out and marked where the cars were so I could figure out where to put that. This is one of my favorite plants here. Sweet almond verbena. The sweet almond verbena just smells incredible. I mean, I wish you could smell this right now. It just smells wonderful. It's a Argentinian plant, and it's deciduous. They're pretty open. There's 3 of them right here, for example. You can't really tell because they're still kind of open. Like there's openings in there, right? There's plants, if you planted 3 of them that close together, there wouldn't be nothing coming through. But they're pretty open, so you plant 3 of them pretty close together. And this crepe myrtle's gonna die. He's never done very good here, like never since I've been here. And now all of a sudden, he wants to put out flowers, so he's toast. This is always really cool. I love this spot. This is a lot of times this is my office. So these are two trees, and from the outside it looks like there's a wall there, right? Like you can see that, it looks like there's a wall. Well, there is no wall, it's just tree limbs. But people can't see back here in the middle of the day. And so what I've done is I've just trimmed it up so that it's cool. It looks like an office. I watched the eclipse from down here, and good times. All right, walking up the path here. Got some garlic chives I grew from seed. I have these here because the tree branch, when it blows in the wind, a tree branch brushes up against them. You can see they're all mangled right there. And I'm convinced that it keeps deer away from this area. The deer have actually started walking around this area. So, tropical sage. Love me some tropical sage. I've got a whole bunch of it in Houston. It's not doing very well here. It's pretty sporadic. I mean, you can see some down there, over here, but in here there's none. So I'm not really planning on putting anything here because the tree's going to grow here. Remember, I just showed you the wall. So I'm not going to put a lot there. So the tropical sage was kind of an annual that could come and go. Nah, well, whatever. More Mexican mint marigold right here. So there's Mexican mint marigold on the front bed. There's Mexican mint marigold here. So when they're both blooming, it'll look nice. And what I wanted to do here is create two gardens. You'll notice there's big stuff here. On the other side, there's different plants that you can't see from the street. And I did that on purpose so that people who walked up to the house would have a different view of the garden. You can see Plumbago down here. I'm using Plumbago as my ground cover underneath the Esperanza and Pride of Barbados. Over there, I've got some milkweed. Right here, I have, though you can't tell because they're not up yet, oxblood lilies. Oxblood lilies should start coming up any day now. They usually come around first day of school, usually. And Mexican marigold all up the path. See, I mean, this is a cutting, obviously. You can tell it's first year, so it's kind of first year. Within 3 years, this will all grow together to look nice. Lamb's ear. Lamb's ear is so wonderful. If you want to get kids into the garden, get some lamb's ear. You just give them a little leaf, and you'll see them. They'll go, this is my favorite plant. It is amazing how quickly kids take to lamb's ear. And then we'll cover this here in a little bit. A little succulent action right there. A little more succulent action right here. Yeah, those are looking nice. Those are second year pots. So coming back down the trail, we have buried our little dogs right here. And so that is grave, and we're gonna keep it marked. I think I'm gonna put some dwarf palmettos kind of in 3 around it, so that even if we leave and we take the fountain or whatever, it'll still be marked. So if we were to come back later in life and look at the house, we would know where our doggies were buried. And in case you're wondering, we buried them in the front yard, not the backyard, because if we do leave the house and we want to come back and visit them, we'll never be able to get in the backyard. But here, we could probably just, if we really wanted to, we could probably ask the new owners if we could look at this area, and we could just come out here and look at them. Okay, black and blue sage over there. Don't know if you can really see it, but the black and blue sage it's coming along. It's the 3rd year for the black and blue sage. I was expecting more, but there was a huge tree limb right there that was just cut down right there. You see all that space? And so it should get a lot more sun now. We'll see. This is, I think they call it heavy bone set. It's also called fragrant mist flower, white mist flower. So this stuff smells wonderful during the winter, requires no care. I mean, I have done nothing to this plant except for give it a little bit of water, and it's just taken off. Mexican bush sage, more Mexican bush sage is where I take all my cuttings from. More Mexican bush sage. All of this Mexican bush sage is taken from one plant. I took one cutting and then I've divided. Now I've got like 30 of them. Jerusalem sage over here, one of my favorite flowers. You can see the form even the form of the plant without the flowers is unique. Those kind of little balls on it. It's pretty cool. This is a native petunia. anytime I pull them up from my yard, I throw them over here because this was a little open gap. And man, they grow great. They require no care, no water. Bumblebees love these little purple flowers. If there were more purple flowers, I'm convinced this plant would be in production because it's a pretty flower, but they're just like whenever they come out and they look awesome, that's what they look like. You know what I mean? There's just not enough foliage, so I think they're not in production. Flame Acanthus. So this thing right here is pretty awesome. The Flame Acanthus will get about 4 feet tall, then flop over. Hummingbird magnet. All my neighbors complain they have no hummingbirds. This just in, they like Flame Acanthus. I've got several of them here, many more in Houston, and this is it. When I sit out here and work in my front yard, this is what they come to right here. They come to this first. Here, this is pretty cool. These are ant lions. So those little divots there are ant lions. And I moved ant lions from a different part of my yard over here because there's always ant hills around this part of my yard. So I put them here under this flowery senna, and they're doing okay. I mean, there's a few here. I might have moved 20 or 30 over here. There's only a few left, but regardless, they'll make it work, I'm sure. This is a flowery senna. It's supposed to be a super showy bush. However, I can't get all of it to come in at one time. It comes in sections. It is only its 3rd year, and so, you know, maybe it's coming along. Actually, I think it's its 4th year. I think this is a 4th summer. Regardless, it's flowering enough that I'm going to leave it here. It's just not enough to make me happy. But it's another Argentinian plant, I believe, and you can see the multi-trunk scenario going on down there. And again, you can see over here, there's a few flowers on it, just not full. So I told you about those 2 Texas sages over there. This is a different Texas sage. It's called a green cloud. The green cloud Texas sage is supposed to be a heavy bloomer, but it looks more green than the others. It's not as silver. And it is definitely putting on a show. Nice big bloomer, nice big Texas sage. First time having a green cloud. I don't think I'd get it again, to be honest. I like the silver ones. So Salvia gregii right here. First year Salvia gregii right there. Salvia gregii. Gonna have a bunch of Salvia gregii up here. You can see the first row. And you can see a little path back here. I'm gonna have a second set of salvias right here. So there'll be 2 lines of salvia right here, alternating like a domino. And more salvia, more salvia. All right, so lots of Salvia gregii here. And this is another Yucca rostrata. I say another Yucca rostrata. This is another plant. This is one of my coolest plants, Yucca rostrata. I actually paid money for this plant. This plant's got to be over 30 years old. It is grows about 4 inches a year, and right now it's over 6 feet tall. So put it into perspective. It grows 4 inches in its first year, and it's 6 feet tall. This thing is old. And antlions living under here too. Really cool. Love seeing that, those antlions. There's not as many ants over here, but it is the right soil type, so I'm sure they just found the soil they wanted. And this is something very interesting. This is our name slips me. Cypress, standing cypress. And you can kind of see the seeds here from the standing cypress. I laid it down hoping that the seeds would just grow back in there, but honestly, I think I have one right here. Yeah, see, there's one. I have seeded this area for years. Put down packets of seeds. I've put down these seeds whenever they come out, and still, it's just not coming up for me. It takes 3 years to get a flower from standing cypress. 3 years. And so putting all these seeds down, I was hoping I'd have a rotation. Negative. It's not working out how I wanted it to. It doesn't always work. Plumbago. There's only one Plumbago plant. It is massive. It's huge. Secret is I did a little underground watering, and apparently it likes the underground watering. The Plumbago, believe it or not, is about to dominate the Pittosporum. I never thought I would see that, but it's up here. It's over here. I mean, it's killing the Pittosporum. It's all over it. So that's kind of cool. Very unexpected. And so I do love Plumbago. I just love the blue flowers and yeah, just love that color. So 5 years worth of work. It's taken a lot of work. We're not done yet. So a lot of times this is where I sit and run my meetings. This is that tree we're mentioning. And let's look at the front walkway. So I did create this to have two different gardens. This front walkway garden is not visible from the street. I did that on purpose. This is a wavy, scaly cloak fern. He's going to be moved. That was a test to see how it would grow. And it just needs more water, so I'm taking it to Houston. This milkweed here is a Slepius tuberosa. It takes 3 years to get one of these from seed. And this is its 5th year, I believe, maybe 4th year. Finally getting flowers on this thing. It's unbelievable how long it takes. It's probably the most beautiful milkweed flower. That's why I wanted it. But it is very hard to grow. Very, very challenging to grow here. Sweet almond verbena right by the path because that stuff smells so great. This is a Chinese fire. It's literally just a screen, literally. It supports my muldoons. I got some muldoons growing up in here. Muldoons were the very first grapes in America. These grapes were grown for wine in America back in the turn of the colonies. And I've got some here, so I just leave them. They used to be overrun with them, but now there's just a few left. This is a compact Yopon Holly, and it's very, very old. They don't grow very fast at all, like 3 inches a year. Yeah. This guy's here just for structure, honestly. Just for structure because the bamboo muley is so flowy that if I didn't have a hard structure here, I'm sure it would just bamboo muley flow everywhere. But I have the hard structure here so that I have access to my hose. Coming in here, I've got Greg's Mistflower, aka Butterfly Crack. This stuff brings in the butterflies like nothing else. And when you walk on this path, you definitely notice that. So, you know, not everything works, right? And the lamb's ear was supposed to be a cover for this, but it just gets too much sun. So I've kind of put the lamb's ear underneath the Pride of Barbados here. And it seems to like that now that it's more tucked underneath. But I think that means the Greg's Mistflower is going to have to come over and engage and cover that up. Succulents. You can see the succulents under there I've got growing. These I literally just tossed out there. And if we get a warm enough winter, this is a little tropical area here, they might grow. I throw succulents out there all the time, just waiting to see if they'll grow. And you can see I've got some over here that are growing. These succulents are out. Ooh, that's zoomed in too much. These succulents are out of the pot. These ones are in the pot. So, oops. That looks nice. I like that. And then also to greet you right as you walk in, past the bamboo muley is a complete contrast. And this is my succulent garden. All the aloe veras over here. Ghost plant right here in the middle. Got some variegation over here. This is a really cool plant. Don't know what it is. I get out of the way of the sun. Same leaves coming from the same stem, but they're two completely different colors, and I really like that. That's really cool. Yep. Pretty cool succulent garden. These plants were about maybe a quarter of them, a third of them are mine. And then I was given them by somebody, given the rest of these by somebody, and replanted them all. And there you have it, folks. It's that's a bigger succulent garden I ever thought I'd have. And then you've got the Japanese boxwood here, adding structure right next to the column, which is really nice. The Photinia was here when I moved in. I was just going to leave it. I don't really mind it. A lot of people tell me to take it out. Whatever, it's fine. And then obviously one of my favorite plants, the dwarf palmetto right there. I think I said we're going to put several dwarf palmettos around the bird bath. So, and then as you walk up, this is all ferns. So my very first project here, very first thing I ever did to this yard was drainage. And I put in this drain right here, dug a hole underneath here, and ran it out over here. There's a pop-up valve that comes up over here, so in rain, the pop-up comes up and gets rid of the water, and it works really well. So ferns. I can protect this area because of, well, you can see the sunline on the ground there. These don't get a lot of sun, and they're under this is about a 300-year-old oak tree. So, yeah, they look decent right there. A couple of ferns right here, foxtail Boston fern. Let's see, what do we have? Button fern, Boston fern, river fern. I never knew the name of that fern. Boston fern, asparagus fern. No, I don't know the name of that one. I think it's asparagus. And then I can't remember the name of this one either. That one right there. These guys I really enjoy. This is my carnivorous garden. And you can see the pictures here. These pictures always have bugs in them. I mean, when I dump these pictures out, like, there's water in there. If I was to dump that out, there'd be lots of bugs in there. It's crazy. And I'm experimenting with a new one this year. I think I'm going to take this one to Houston because it is a bog plant. And this is a Venus flytrap. You can't tell because it's really little, but it's grown about twice as big as when I bought it. This is my rainwater collection. Man, that's huge, right? You can see my foot there. It's not that big. But all I use it for is these. I don't water any of these plants. None of the plants I showed you require any water. And so the carnivorous plants require rainwater. So I have a couple of gallons of rainwater I leave there. And then obviously I'll use this until it gets full of mosquitoes. So that's the dealio. This is the front yard here. And man, it is, I mean, better than I could have expected. This was my vision whenever I started. And it's coming to fruition. So in the side yard, I wanted production. Like, I didn't want all my food production to be in the sun. I wanted some food production in the shade. I've got a lot of shade back here. You can see it's about 11 o'clock and there's no sun. But yet, there's peppers. Man, these peppers will kick your butt. These are chili patines. They're hotter than a jalapeno, almost as hot as a cayenne. And I've got 7 or 8 of them back here. This guy keeps getting stepped on, so I don't know if he's even going to grow. And this guy just won't grow for some reason. I don't know. Maybe he just isn't going to grow. But then I've got 5 or 6 that are really nice and full. You can see those are the limbs I was talking about that just got pulled down. So there's my chili patine garden in the shade. And then over here we've got American Beautyberry, which I love, love, love. Good contrast here, those nice little berries. It's not quite fall yet, it's still August, but the berries are starting to come out now. Over here we've got some Yopon Hollies. These Yopons were designed to be a screen. This one fell over, so he's not doing a very good job of screening. This is what they do the first year here because it's so shady. Everything dies, and then they'll come back from like one stem because it's just so shady. Look at how much sun is here. This should be full sun right now. Just not enough. Xeric necklace. This again was designed to be a screen. Gosh, this thing grows slow. Oh my gosh. It's actually put on some height this year. I'm pretty impressed with it. I think I'm gonna leave it here. But I'm gonna have to pair it with its sister because I bought 2 of them. And this one isn't growing worth a crap. So this one's gonna get moved over there. And then right here, I've had 3 things on this berm. None of them's grown. So I'm gonna put something here that just grows. Maybe like a pittosporum, maybe even a photinia. I don't know. I'm putting something here that just grows because I'm tired of messing with this spot. Overall, I'm pretty proud of this. Last but not least, in the front yard, Agarita. It's a 2-year-old Agarita. You can see it should be getting direct sun. It doesn't get very good sun right here. It's designed just in case someone tries to get in those windows, honestly. I had one over here too, but it just doesn't get enough sun over there. Barely gets enough sun here. So, yep, that's what we got.